Those are the words that Kadosh Baruch Hu finishes the Torah with. That Moshe Rabbeinu demonstrated something to Klal Yisrael that wasn't known prior. And that meant something for humanity that was supposed to be remembered for eternity. But the nature of the message is such that it's difficult to transmit, it's difficult to understand. It has many contradictions, seemingly, into what the message really is. So Moshe Rabbeinu had a way of explaining things where Klal Yisrael actually understood what they're dealing with, what's really happening to them, what's the appropriate way of approaching that experience. And when people are in that state, life interacts with them in that way. Something becomes real to them that wasn't real before. And that can only happen when people interact in that mode, when people actually believe a certain reality. And we always believe something. Everybody has beliefs, even people who believe that they are atheists. They have certain beliefs because they have to interact with life. In order to interact with life, we need to believe something that's going to drive the interaction. And so Moshe Rabbeinu focused in that area of what people should believe, what should they understand, what do they need to know. And Moshe Rabbeinu was the smartest person that ever lived, as far as his time. And so it made sense that he would be the messenger to deliver to humanity the message of what is important here, what should you focus on, what's real, which part of this experience should I pay the most attention to. And so this is how Moshe finishes the Torah. יש להם בזה לימד ספר בתחילוס הדרך שם YAKOV'S from the Baal Shem Tov HaKodesh. שם ישרול מויר על דרך כשבר הקדוש ברוך הוא ישראלו. ויכול זה לשור של העין. That the name Yisrael, why do we call Klal Yisrael Yisrael? Because it has in it the message of what we stand for. So it says when the world was originally created, the world would constantly go back to nothingness, meaning it didn't hold. Because humanity's understanding of self wasn't such that it can have a hold. Civilization didn't have an underlying understanding of reality that could cause them to interact in a coherent manner so that they can be on the same page, that they can understand each other, so they can have basic beliefs that are intrinsic to people so that they can have a language so that they can interact. And so in order to create something like this, it needed to be created in a way that is suitable for the human nature so that it can last. And this takes a tremendous chachma to know all the nuances of a human being, all the needs, all the necessities, and all the deeper faculties of the human thinking, the unconscious part of the human thinking, and the collective human thought and how that evolves. It takes a tremendous understanding to be able to design a system that's going to guide people to be the way that they're supposed to be. And that was the purpose of the Torah. That was the goal of why Moshe Rabbeinu gave us the Torah. And so when Klal Yisrael had the understanding of the Torah, the world could suddenly have a kiyum. Now the world can exist. Now the world can become something together because there's an underlying understanding between the people that's going to cause them to understand each other. כשהסתכל הקדוש ברוך הוא בבריאת האדם הנקרא ישראל, אז נזכר מעולם מאין ליש. Then came out a world that actually has parts and pieces that are necessary for a world that can have a kiyum, for a world that could stand. Through the appropriate understanding of this message, the world can live, the world can be. כשהסתכל הקדוש ברוך הוא בבריאת האדם הנקרא ישראל, אז נזכר מעולם. וזה רמז שם ישרול, היינו יש, ריש, אלף, למד. So Yisrael stands for Yesh, Resh, Aleph, Lamed. Resh is Chachma, Aleph is das, and Lamed is bina. So yesh Ra means yesh chochma bina and das, meaning these people are designed in such a way, they've been given such a heritage that they can have access to chochma bina and das. They can really understand what's happening to them. They can be conscious of their experience while it's happening. And in Mezes b'milas ayin gamken, that ayin also is roimes to chochma bina and das. So through Klal Yisrael having a certain identity that holds them together, now a civilization can rise, an understanding can rise between people of what it really needs to be a human being, what that experience really entails, what it's supposed to look like. And that coherent gives the world a yesh, it gives the world the ability to manifest. Without that language, without that understanding, without that thought that's appropriate to the human nature, then we would have no way of getting an appropriate understanding between people that can eventually last, that can really be true to the nature of the people in all the manners of their personality, which includes the spiritual, which includes all the subtle areas of their life. And so, by Klal Yisrael containing this vessel, containing this understanding, they can now build, through understanding, a world that is appropriate to the people who live in it, that understands appropriately its citizens, that gives them what they require. That's what means Yisrael Ola b'machshava, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. What does it mean, Yisrael Ola b'machshava? It means that the understanding, the intelligence concluded that there cannot be a people coexisting without a coherent body of thought and understanding of what it means to exist and how they're supposed to do so that they can together contain what reality created for them, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu designated for them as their destiny, as the way that the world is supposed to work. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu pre-saw Yisrael, and then he said, now we can create the world. This reality now starts to manifest. Now we can implant the seed, which is Matan Torah, was implanting of an ibur, meaning that there's a potential now for this understanding to come to life. And then when Klal Yisrael is in the right understanding and they have people that are delving into the depth of their being in order to find the truth, then they can know the reality and they can appreciate it, they can exist. What's called Moichen de Gadlus, they can understand and appreciate their own experience. But when people are in a lower level and they're more busy with survival, then the Torah just takes on a very simple face of this is what you need to do, and then you're done. And then the Torah doesn't have all the vital energies that a person needs. And then the Torah is called a Samamav, it's not a Samachayim. The Samachayim is only when a person can take out of the Torah the juice, that it gives him life, that it fills him with willingness to live, that it fills him with peace. Then the Torah becomes a Samachayim. And that all depends on a person, how they see themselves. Now we went through the Yemei Adin. So the idea is that those people who are not confidently in the Kav Schos, they don't know themselves to be clean and clear. They need to start looking at themselves and how they live their life, how they prioritize, where they put their attention. Because being in the Kav Schos is what gives a person access to life. Everything we do, when we say we do something, to be yotzei yedei choiv. It was yotzei yedei choiv, v'lo yotzei yedei choiv. Which choiv are we talking about? We're talking about the choiv of the midas hadin. That a person should get to a place where he can be in the kav schus, that he doesn't have a choiv. And this is why we have the process of the Yemei Adin. This is why we have Yom Kippur, to cleanse us from anything that we experienced that wasn't appropriate to our nature. So, when Klal Yisrael started gaining this understanding, when this became possible, when this was injected into the world, Kiviyachol, so then we started evolving into a being, into a different type of nation, a different type of people. that there's some type of instruction inherent in how this experience is supposed to take place. There's some meaning that's deeper than what we have access to, that's there waiting for us so that we can present ourselves to it, so that we can realize it. And that truth, that's our heritage, that's the reality we're chasing after together as a nation. And that's why Limud Torah is so important. Limud Torah is the recipe to attaining that understanding, but only when the Limud Torah is learned lishma, or at least kedei, that it should bring to learning lishma, so that a person could find the truth. Because just learning certain areas of the Torah can keep a person busy for a long time, and if he doesn't in the meantime work on his midas, he doesn't become a better person, his life is passing by. And that's why we have to find the true meaning of things, to understand the deeper message that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to us through Moshe. And that relates to who we are, that relates to our destiny. That's why Yisrael, the name of the Baal Shem, and the name of each and every one of us. This is who we are. This is what we represent in the world. So Vizei Yisrael Bereshis Oidei Yisrael Shemoide Yesh Ayin Shenase Yesh Mi Ayin Kenal Zeu Bereshis Haina Modes Kie Mase Bereshis Sheleyach Zel Ayin. Through this, we start Bereshis, we start the Torah, which means that we can create a world now. We can create Mase Bereshis now, because now we have a system of how people are going to understand how to live here. Otherwise, why would we even start preparing? Why would we even create? And now that we have a way, and therefore the Yeshis Shel Yisrael, meaning the fact that Yisrael is creating an identity here, this is what holds the world together. So this is the tachlis that's needed, because without this, if we don't have the people, if we don't have the behavior, then the whole world doesn't have a purpose, the whole world doesn't have a tachlis. V'zeu Yisrael asher b'cho yispor. So it says Yisrael, the name Yisrael, this is how HaKadosh Baruch Hu can be proud of his world. When a Yisrael behaves like a Yisrael, that gives HaKadosh Baruch Hu pride in his creation. Because that's when the HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually delivered on his goal. That's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually realized what he wanted to realize. Until then, it's a process of achieving, of attaining, of becoming. But when a person arrives at the mid of Yisrael, that's when it becomes real to him. But the Chochmah, when it comes down into the world, you can't see it as Chochmah because it's too subtle. It's too thin for us. We don't have the tools to pick it up yet. And that's the Bechinas Yud. Yud means the small letter that's involved in all the letters. Because every manifestation has a Yud in it. The Yud is the original manifestation as it comes before you open up the envelope, before you evolved into a thought even. And that Yud, Ene Tefes Gvan Klal, takes no color. Ksheba Levav, Shebechinas Yisrael, Yisrael, which is the Tiferes, is called Vav, because that's the 6 midas. Azai Nasim Givanim Misitr the Abba Rosh Misitr the Ema Asher. This is some Kabbalistic language. As the Abba, which is called Chochmah, is called Rosh, because that's the beginning of the head, and from there comes in all the thoughts. So just like we see in the individual, so we know in the collective. So there's an area that's called the Rosh, the beginning, which is called Chochmah. And Ima is called Asher. So when we make brachas, for example, we say, Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Asher Kiddushanu. Asher, when we say Asher, we're indicating that we have a certain understanding now about who we are talking about because of what we're saying. So we're identifying him. That identification is an understanding, and that's the word Asher. That's called Bina. That's called understanding. V'zeu Bereshis le'enei kol Yisrael. So he's being mitzvah at the beginning and the end. Eine Bereshis she chochmah nasa le'enei haine bechinas givonim. Yisrael k'sheba levov she bechinas Yisrael kanal v'mas kol yovim. The Bereshis is the chochmah. So this chochmah nasa le'enei. So he's mitzvah to the end where it says le'enei kol Yisrael that became different colors. So this is how the yesh comes out of the ayin. In the ayin and the chochmah we still see nothing. And then comes the whole Torah. And it creates all kinds of colors, all kinds of realities inside the mind in order for people to be able to coexist and to exist within themselves. And now you have all the different colors, which is called L'Einei Kol Yisrael. These are all the different colors that came out of Bereshis. That every single person, the way that he sees life, is an interpretation of reality. Because he has to interpret something in order to interact with it. Everybody's interacting with it. So everybody's interpreting it. And that interpretation, that's his Torah. And his Torah is, to the extent that it matches the real Torah, that it matches reality the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created it, then it's giving him chayes, it's giving him life. To the extent that his Torah is diverging from the reality and it's misunderstood, it's causing him death, it's causing him conflict with reality. And that's why we were given the Torah, so we can synchronize, so we can have some kind of a tool that we can combine as we're observing reality and contemplating reality. We can compare it to some kind of text, to some kind of understanding, to see if we're on the right path, if we understand correctly. And the end result of that learning is that a person can properly understand himself. And that's when it becomes from Torah Hashem to Rasoi. It's in the beginning, it's Torah Hashem. You're learning somebody else's Torah. You don't really understand. But when you understand it, then it's your Torah. This is yours. This is your chelik. This is what you came to develop. And that has to become internal. It has to become real, because the experience is real. If we're never going to make it real, then the first time it's going to become real is going to be when it's not going to be real in this sense anymore. It's not going to be real physically. And that's a big chaval, because this is the time. This is the place. We're on stage now. So it requires a certain lucidity that a person should be able to say, I want to face reality now while I'm here. Just see what life is and recognize that somebody really created this with me in mind, as unlikely as it might seem. And to start looking for that understanding, to start looking for that reality, to start looking for something where the mind and the heart can find peace. Because those words are out there. The Chokhmah has been around for thousands of years, and many, many people have been cured by what it has to say. So it's on us to try to figure out what it has to say. And this Chokhmah is different within each person. Each person will receive it in a different light. And that's why he says L'Einei Kol Yisrael means the Givonim, the different colors of which the same information can come out in. And that's because we each have a slightly different view of reality based on the combination of koiches that HaKadosh Baruch Hu placed in each one of us, and everything we went through. And all that has a perfect coherence in some dimension that we can currently comprehend. But the closer we can tap into it, the more we can gain, the more chayim we can take from this reality, which is very, very real. We're just not equipped to understand it yet. So that's what the Vegel is being meramis when he says that L'Einei is bechinas givonim, Yisroel k'sheba levov, that's the Tiferes shebechinas Yisroel kanal v'maskel yoven, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu k'viyochol, when he says Yisroel asher b'chol yispoyer, it means that within a yid that feels proud, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is proud. Because that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's midah, that a person can dress, that a person could feel that he's proud because HaKadosh Baruch Hu created it. That's his pride, and that's a pride that nobody can ever take away from you. It's something you've had before you were even born, and it's something you're going to take with you for eternity. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created you, and that's why you should be proud. You should be walking around as a proud member of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's team, regardless of what you think your relationship with him is. It's all nonsense. He loves you just the same, and you've just gotten into an argument with yourself, and you got to find a way out. You just got to figure out how to climb off that tree. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is ready for us at any time. He's been sitting and waiting ever since he created life, so that those who are there recognize him in the way that he really is, not in imagined ways where they get into fights with themselves. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name is Shalom. If you're looking for somebody, you call his name. You want to call HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name? Find Shalom. That's why Chazal teaches you should be Oyev Shalom and Roidev Shalom. You should love it, and you should also run after it. It shouldn't just be a passive love. It should be an active love. That you're actively looking for peace. You're actively taking every route, every channel, based on how much peace it's going to give you. So that there you can hear HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the peace. When you're not hijacking the mind for things that are not so necessary, the mind can actually be busy with things that are important to it. And that's the ultimate healing. That's the healing that the Torah wants to give us. The Torah is here to give us spiritual healing. The nefesh, the ruach, and the neshama, to connect everything together so that every part of us is satisfied in the way that it needs to be. And there's a recipe out there. So we should all be looking to try to figure it out. That's why it says, they weren't kidding around with us. This is real, that we're in a real problem. And the only way we're going to know how to get out of our problem is to learn the text until we understand what it really means on a very practical level. To the extent that we can actually live by it and believe every single word. And to the extent that every word makes us happy. It makes us full of joy and gives us chayes, gives us life. Because then we know we really understood it. Otherwise, we're just eating the peels. We're not eating the fruit. And the peels are bitter. So as long as it's bitter, we're still eating the peels. You gotta bite deeper. And then when we bite deep enough, when we feel the fruit, that changes everything. We should all be zoicha. The schis of the Baal Shem Tov, the schis of his grandson, the Degel, the schis of all of Klal Yisrael who are with us and going through all kinds of suffering. We might be used to it, but to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He knows the truth. He knows how much the suffering is real. Just because we think we deserve it doesn't mean we really deserve it. So you should wake up with His chesed. You should see us from the eyes of these tzaddikim, from the eyes of the Baal Shem Tov, from the eyes of the Degel, and then for sure we will have the Gula Shem of